Hi friends, welcome back to Azure Content. This is part 16 in SQL Real-Time Scenarios playlist. In this video, we are going to learn how to aggregate rows into a single string using string aggregate function in SQL Server. So let's see the requirement in details. So I'm going to create a temporary table, or it may be a table variable that we will create on the fly, and we will have two columns there called customer ID and order ID. And if you see the data, there are a lot of customers who have done multiple orders. So you can see the customer having customer ID 100 has performed three orders, and these are the order IDs 75, 47, and 255. Similarly, the customer which is having order ID 200 is having multiple orders again with order ID 37 and 14. And then again, the third customer having customer ID 300 is having two orders, one with order ID 235 and other with order ID 70. So what we have to do is we have to group the data together, and we have to create a list of all the orders for each of the customers in single row. So basically we have to transform the multiple rows for each of the customers and convert it into single row which is having all the orders in one string, and it should be comma separated. We can also use other delimiters, so we will see how to do that using something called string aggregate function in SQL. And if you see, this data is sorted based on the customer IDs, but within the orders this data is not sorted. So we will also try to come up with the result which will be having each of the orders as well with sorted data. So you can see these are all in ascending order now. So we will try to see how to order or how to sort within the output performed by string aggregate. So within this group as well, we will try to sort the data according to our wish in ascending order or descending order. Okay, so now let's go to SSMS and start writing the SQL query to create the table and then to aggregate multiple rows into a single string using string aggregate function. So first of all, I do not have the table handy, so I will create the table. Maybe I will create a temporary table. So we will say create table hash sample. This is the table name I'm going to give. So if you use this hash symbol, it will create a temporary table, which means it will not be physically stored in your database, and the scope of this table will be only within this session. So if I end this session or if I create a new session, it will not be able to fetch the data out of this table. Okay, so the scope of this table will lie within this session itself. Okay, so what are the columns we are going to create? So the first one is customer ID, which is going to be integer type, and the other one is order ID, and that is also going to be integer type. Now I want to insert into this table called hash sample table. And what are the values we are going to insert? So I already have the values handy with me, same as what is there in the PPT. So I'll just paste it here, and these are the values which is going to be inserted into the sample table once we create it, and then we can fetch the data from the sample table. Okay, so if I run this, you can see the temporary table got created. And if I try to just run select star from temporary table, then also it is giving me the result. So once this table is created, we can query it multiple times, but within this scope of this session itself. If I try to copy this and run it in this different session, it won't work because this table is not present in the database. We have not created any physical table. It is just a temporary table which lies within the scope of this session. So this is how we can create a temporary table. Alternatively, we can also create a table variable. We have created it in the previous videos as well. If you do not want to store the data in a physical table and you just want to perform some operation on a set of small data, then you can also create a table variable. We have used the table variable in previous videos as well. So how can we create it? We can create using declare syntax. Okay, so declare and then the table variable name, which will start with @ at the rate maybe sample, and then what type of variable it is of table type. Okay, so this variable can be of either integer type or any other data type, maybe it is of varchar type, but there is something called table type as well. So we can create a variable of table type as well, and we need to, since it is a table type, we need to give uh, the schema for this. Okay, so I will give customer id integer and then order id again integer. So these are the columns I want to have in my table variable, and then simply insert into this sample table. What are the values that I'm going to insert? Again, since I have the values handy, I will insert it, and we can use select query to fetch the data from this sample table. Okay, so if I run this, it will give the same output, you can see. But the difference between uh, a table variable and a temporary table is that the scope of table variable is within the execution of this batch, which means if I just run select star from this at the rate sample, it won't work. It says that it must be declared, the variable must be declared. So if I run it in a batch, then it will work. But in case of temporary table, it will just work like this. It will give me the result even if I just run select star from the table, because the temporary table will work as long as this session is active. So its scope is within this session. But in case of table variable, within the session as well, within the particular batch itself, it will run. So we have to execute it in batches. Okay, so the whole query we need to execute again and again to in order to view the result. It won't work just in silos. Okay, so you have to run the whole batch. Okay, so that is the difference. So I'm good with my temporary tables. I'm deleting the table variable, and we will work on this add hash sample table. Okay, now our requirement is that we have to aggregate the data and convert from multiple rows into a single row. For each of the customer ID, it should have only one row, and whatever is the order IDs for those customers, it should be aggregated into a single string. So that is our requirement. So these 7 rows should be converted into only 3 rows, because we have 3 distinct customer IDs, that is 100, 200 and 300. So basically we have to group the data. So we can guess that we have to use group by clause as well. So let's start writing the SQL query in order to achieve the requirement. We will write select, and then what columns we need is customer ID, and then this customer ID we will use in the group by clause as well. So let me hold on to write for the order ID. Let me just write select customer ID from hash sample table, and then we will use group by clause, group by the customer ID itself, because we have to group based on the customer ID. So all these rows wherever customer ID is same should be clubbed together, which means grouped together into a single row. Okay, so group by customer ID. Okay, so if I just run this, you can see all the distinct customer IDs are coming as the output. Okay, so now we also need the order IDs, right? So usually if we do group by, we must use something called aggregate functions. So aggregate functions like average of order ID, we usually use some of the aggregate function like this, and it will give the average of order IDs, or maybe minimum of all the order IDs. So this is the minimum of all the order IDs for customer ID 100, and similarly this is for 200 and 300. Okay, so if I run both the queries, you can see out of these 3 rows for customer ID 100, the minimum is 47, which has been returned in this result. Okay, but what we require is we need to have all the order IDs as well with comma separated values. So to achieve that, there is something called string aggregate function. So let me remove this and let me give string underscore aggregate function, and it will aggregate all the values present in order ID, and it will give us the single string for all the order IDs, and it will divide it by the separator that we are going to give here in the second parameter. So here in a string format, we have to provide the separator. So suppose if I give comma, it will give me let me run both the queries. So you can see here, you can see all the order IDs for customer ID 100 has been clubbed together into a single row, and it is coming here. Okay, so as we have given the delimiter as comma, so it is comma separated values. Okay, if I would have given the delimiter as say semicolon, then it would have given me the semicolon separated values. If I would have given say pipe symbol, then it would separate all the values with the pipe delimiter. Okay, so we are good. We will use comma here, and let me give the column name as order ID itself. Okay, as order ID. And here you can see the there is no column name here, but now we have provided the alias, so it will give the column name as order ID. So we are good. Now our requirement is we need to sort the data present within the order ID as well. So what I mean by this is, you can see order ID has the values as 75, 47 and 255. So I want to sort it by ascending order. So in order to perform sorting within this group of data, which is coming as the output of string aggregate function, we can use something called within group. Okay, so we have something called within group clause, which can be used along with the string aggregate function in order to perform the sorting on top of the output given by the string aggregate function. So within group, and then here we have to give the order by which column. Okay, so order by, again order ID column we need to give. So let me take order by order ID. So within order ID it will perform the sorting again, and it will give the result as ascending order. So now we will, if we run this, we will be expecting the data to be coming as 47, 75, then 255. Similarly, the third row should be giving 70, then 235. So let me run this now. Yeah, so now you can see the data has been sorted in ascending order. If I want to sort in descending order, I can just mention DESC at the end, and you can see it has given the descending order result. So by default, it takes ascending order, so we don't need to give anything in ascending order, or else we can also give ESC for ascending order. Okay, but by default, it takes ascending itself, so we don't need to explicitly give anything. So that's how a string aggregate works. It's a very useful function in SQL, which can aggregate the data and club together the different rows into a single row, and that can be separated by the desired delimiter. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you find this video helpful. Please hit on like button and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done it yet. Thank you.